of the murders. It's your family or me.
There's never been any doubt about that. This video is going to tell you about how it all went down, the details and the facts.
Woman who had an affair with Chris Watts told our partners at the Denver Post that she hardly knew anything about Shanann and that she had only recently started a relationship with Chris. Well, there is now evidence to suggest that she knew about Shanann almost a year before the murders.
Nichol later talked to police.
And then one day he told me that he had 2 kids.
Hi, Bill.
I was like, that's pretty cool. And started telling me about his kids.
That sounded like a sarcastic comment.
No, I thought it was kind of cute. I was like, oh, he's a dad. It was like right around Father's Day, too.
She learned he was married even though she says he didn't wear a wedding ring.
I'm so out of breath.
The other woman claims she met Watts in June. She says she thought Watts was at the end of his divorce proceedings.
I didn't know his significant other's name for a while.
He said. Do you know her name at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay saying her name?
It's Shanann. And then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick.
This one is Chris Watts. Chris Watts.
But police had found her internet searches from the year before. Kessinger searched the name Shanann Watts in September of 2017.
I didn't know his significant other's name for a while.
Am I in trouble because I related to sex?
You're not in trouble. Is it criminal? No.
Well, in Colorado, destruction of evidence is a felony.
Is there concern that you're hiding something? Potentially.
You know, I'm worried about people. They're so little. She's pregnant. Oh, it's like, where's their mom?
Say hi. Say hi. Cece likes the camera. Say hi, Cece. Say hi. Hi. She loves the camera. I don't know if you guys saw her. And then there's Bella. Say hi. I was in a really bad mood. And I got a friend request from Chris on Facebook. And I was like, oh, what the heck. I'm never going to meet him. Except
Having a wonderful time. You mean a lot to me. And I'm glad that you're having a blast. I am so out of breath.
he's the best thing that has ever happened to me.
Nichol Kessinger turned out to have information that I can best describe as being a bombshell.
This video is taking a look at the interactions between Chris Watts and his mistress, Nichol Kessinger, in the days leading up to the tragic murders of Shanann Watts, 15 weeks pregnant, her daughter Bella Watts, and Celeste Watts on August 13th of 2018. You better buckle up for this one because we are going to be rolling out the facts.
According to Tallman, Watts told him that Kessinger gave him an ultimatum on the night of the murders. It's your family or me.
Was there an ultimatum? Absolutely, there was. So as we start to take a look at exactly what happened in the days, in the weeks, and the hours that preceded this horrible tragedy that annihilated Chris Watts' beautiful family, let's take a look at the timeline that led up to August 13th, the day of the murders. On August 7th, 2018, the Watts family altogether flies home to Colorado from North Carolina.
Ready? Set. Hold on.
I love making
It is on the next day, August 8th, that Watts deletes his Facebook account. It is also on that next day, August 8th, that Nichol Kessinger makes a Google search, marrying your mistress. If that's not enough to happen in one single day after the Watts family arrives home for the first time as a family together just for one night in Colorado, Chris Watts deletes his Facebook page, Nichol Kessinger Googles marrying your mistress. Oh, you just wait. There's so much more that happened on August 8th. According to the Geotab information, Geotab is a tracking system in Chris Watts' work truck. Chris Watts arrives in Nichol Kessinger's apartment at 3:09 p.m. He arrives at 12234 Ray Street, and his truck remains there for 2 hours and 50 minutes. 2 minutes after he parks at NK's apartment complex, he modifies Shanann's contact information in his cell phone. That's at 3:11 p.m. on August 8th. Nichol Kessinger lived at 12255 Claude Court, and Ray Street is right outside of the apartment complex. Both Chris and Nichol stated that he would park on the street and walk into the complex from Ray Street. He departs from Nichol Kessinger's apartment at 6 p.m., 1 hour before the ultrasound appointment with Shanann, and drives 20 minutes, which is 16 miles. So, do you want to know something that happened while Chris was at Nikki's apartment that day? Now, this diverges a little bit from the timeline, but according to the book Letters from Christopher by Sherilyn Cadle, Christopher says, "When I returned to Colorado, I saw Nikki after work. I went to her house in my work truck, and she gave me a key to her place. I saw this as a pretty big step, because what woman gives another man a key to her place without wanting to take a big step in their relationship? I had told her that Shanann and I were going to get a separation and that the relationship was going to end. Shanann had mentioned the word separation, but she was still actively trying to fix our marriage. I don't know if this is the day when I received the key to Nikki's place that I realized I couldn't have my family and her at the same time." So this day was significant to Shanann Watts for different reasons. This is a day when they were scheduled to go to the ultrasound where they would find out the gender of the baby. Now, this day ranges in experience so greatly between Chris Watts and Shanann Watts. I'm just going to go through all of the items on the timeline for this critical day during this critical week, and you guessed it, the date is August 8th. At 7:24 a.m., Sarah Nudd, who's a friend of Shanann, asked Shanann if they were doing any better. Shanann replied, "No, it's so bad and I don't know what to do. He told me he doesn't want this baby and he's happy with just Bella and Celeste. He thought he wanted another one. I'm so sick to my stomach. Tried to have sex with him last night just to see if that would help him, and he rejected me." Shanann said she hasn't cried this hard ever. Shanann added, "He said he feels like there's a lack of communication and it's not for me. I sent him 12 texts over the month begging him to talk to me. He fell asleep at 7 or 8. Shanann told Sarah, "I tried talking to him after rejection last night and me crying for an hour alone on the couch. He slept. I kicked his sorry ass out of the bed and I refuse to sleep on the couch anymore this week. Told him this morning not to come home today, and if he can't tell me the damn truth and what is wrong." Shanann continued, "We are supposed to go to the ultrasound tonight and he doesn't even want the baby. He'd abort it if I said it was okay." At 8:06 a.m., Shanann told Sarah he said he's not having an affair. Sarah asked if Shanann was certain of this, of him having an affair, and Shanann replied, "Honestly, no, but what else would make him do a complete 360? We couldn't get enough of each other before I left." At 8:52, Josh Rosenberg, Cassie's husband, asked Chris Watts if he's excited for the ultrasound. "Today's the day, right?" Watts replied he just returned to work and added, "Yup, today's the day. I'm excited." Watts confirmed that the ultrasound was at 7 p.m. At 3:11, Watts made an unspecified modification to Shanann's contact information in his work phone. Now, it should be noted that this is right around the time that he would get out of work, and he did end up going to the ultrasound, but he was hung out with Nichol Kessinger after work and stayed with her right up until the moment that he had to leave for the ultrasound. At 19:25, this would have been shortly after Chris Watts left her apartment, Kessinger searched Google on topics related to marrying your mistress, as I had just earlier mentioned. That was the day. So that is going on while Chris Watts is at the ultrasound appointment with Shanann to find out the gender of the baby. Well, they weren't going to find it out yet. Someone else was finding out. It was Nichol Atkinson. It was going to be put in an envelope, remember? And they were going to have that gender reveal party. So this next item on the timeline would happen after Shanann and Chris went to that ultrasound. So this is how things went there for poor Shanann. So at 9:54, Shanann told Uthoff and Cassie Rosenberg, he said that we are not compatible anymore. He refused to hug me. Jesus. Said he thought another baby would fix things. He said he refused couples counseling. Shanann elaborated. He said a lot of time to reflect on his feelings, Shanann added. He said he's going to work it out, but she didn't know how or when he would agree to counseling. Her friends offered support and suggestions to work this out. At 9:57, Josh begged Watts, bro, I'm waiting patiently, LOL, don't leave me hanging. Watts replied, LOL, envelope is sealed until next weekend. Josh asked if they were going to hold a reveal, and Watts said yes. At 10:19, Shanann told Uthoff and Cassie, I will fight for full custody. Shanann said Watts told her he does not want to divorce right away. So whatever's going on there at that house that night, there's a lot of back and forth between Shanann and Chris that we will never know about. We will never know those details, but it's clear that there were very confused feelings, I guess, on Chris Watts' part, and definitely he was sending Shanann Watts mixed messages. And also I want you to note the hour here. They've usually gone to bed by then. I mean, this is like late for them to be having phone activity. Well, unless it was Chris with Nichol Kessinger, which was out of the norm. At 10:40, Shanann told the women, I can't afford 3 kids alone in Colorado. Shanann said their current home loan is on Chris's name. Her friends rallied around Shanann. At 11:08, so this is getting really late, Shanann searched Google on topics like emotion-focused therapy and couples therapy. So she's still hanging in there looking for an answer to their problems. So remember, this is the same day, the day that they were going to the ultrasound, where the baby's gender was going to be found out and sealed for their gender reveal party. Also on that day, Chris Watts deleted his Facebook account, very curious. And Nichol Kessinger, while Watts was at the ultrasound after he left her place, was searching for marrying your mistress. Now, what does that tell us? At this time, she still knew that she was the mistress.
You guys are so silly. Okay, let's go to school.
The most telling things that happens on that very eventful day, August 8th, 2018, the day after the whole family returns from their visit in North Carolina, is Chris Watts deleting his Facebook, and I am going to explain. When Chris Watts was interviewed from Dodge Correctional Facility in February of 2019, Dave Baumhover asked him directly about him deleting his Facebook. Why'd you do it? When'd you do it? Here's what he had to say.
How about your Facebook account? You deleted that at some point. When did you do that? And why?
I think it was, got back August 7th. Went to work. I think it was probably August 8th. That's when I think told me she told her friends about me. And I just figured, they probably looked me up on Facebook and see that she was pregnant. I think Nikki knew probably already, but I did that.
First of all, I want to note the last thing he said, that Nikki probably knew it already. I honestly had not heard him say that in his interview until I was making this video, and oh my God. Now, we all know that Nichol Kessinger absolutely knew that Shanann Watts was pregnant, and she had known for a while. In fact, in the video that's linked in the description, the bombshell video, part 1, I lay out for you guys exactly when Shanann first posted on Facebook about her pregnancy and how that ironically coincides with the first communication between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger, which was through email, on Anadarko email, on June 12th of 2018, when Chris and Nichol are having a back and forth about Nichol thanking Chris for his honesty that morning. She really admires that in a person. Now, the first time that Shanann Watts posted about her pregnancy was June 9th, and then she posted about it again on June 10th, June 11th, and June 12th. That first communication between Kessinger and Watts happens on June 12th, and she's thanking him for his honesty. And then, soon thereafter, their relationship starts with a bang. Interesting that when Baumhover asked Watts, why did he delete his Facebook account, Watts just readily available, he knows that it was August 8th. At that point, that was 6 months ago, but he knows that it was August 8th because August 8th, that day, and the events of that day are indelibly marked in Chris Watts' mind, and I bet he remembers almost all of the details of that day because it was quite eventful for him. Now, it's also corroborated through the discovery files that Chris Watts deleted his Facebook account on August 8th because it's the next day, early in the day, on August 9th, that Shanann asked him, why did you delete your Facebook account? It's in their text messages. Well, on her phone, but not his, because he had erased the messages from her on his phone, and he doesn't reply. And then his dad, Ronnie Watts, on the 10th, probably Ronnie not checking Facebook nearly as frequently as Shanann, notices the following day, asks Watts if he deleted his Facebook account, and he remarks that, yeah, it's gone, he's liberated. Well, August 8th is the day he deleted his Facebook account. According to him, it's because on that day, Kessinger told him that she, for the first time, told her friends about him. So he didn't want Nichol Kessinger's friends to find his Facebook page and find out that his wife was pregnant. Not just that he had a wife, but that the wife was pregnant. But he fixed that Kessinger already knew that. And also, guys, if it is true that Nichol Kessinger knew that Chris Watts' wife Shanann was pregnant when they exchanged their first email correspondence on June 12th over Anadarko email, just think of the implications. That would mean that she knew that Shanann Watts was pregnant during the entire duration of their courtship or their dating or their relationship. And I can guarantee you that that actually is true. But we're going to have to move on from that for now.
You're so damn sexy.
Thank you so much for coming out here with me, Christopher. I'm having a wonderful time. You mean a lot to me, and I'm glad that you're having a blast. I am so out of breath.
Let's take a listen to Nichol Kessinger telling Kevin Kobach, the interviewer, for the billionth time that she did not know that Shanann was pregnant, and then she's going to talk about the times that she saw Chris Watts after he and his family returned from North Carolina. And she mentions that Wednesday, August 8th. Take a listen.
So you guys never had a conversation about the child, period.
I didn't know at all.
All right. And by your words, if you did know, you would have ended the relationship.
Well, because it wouldn't have made sense to me that he's like, I'm getting separated. Oh, by the way, I have a baby on the way. It's like,
that's 15 weeks.
You are a liar.
Oh, Miss Kessinger, you are a liar. Because at this point, it's a proven fact that you knew that Shanann Watts was pregnant with Chris Watts' baby. Probably all along. If you're interested in watching a video about this, I'll leave a link to that video in the description box.
You're just trying to sleep with me. That's what I would have probably interpreted that as, and I'd have just shut that off at work, and that would have been the end of it.
Okay. All right. We can move past that. The week that he comes back from North Carolina, You don't remember, somewhere in the first couple of weeks of August.
Yeah, I think it was the second week, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
They're coming fast and furious. I dare to say that is another lie because remember this interview takes place on August 16th, 2018. Nichol Kessinger knows exactly when Chris Watts left for North Carolina, and she certainly knows exactly when he returned.
So we'll just use August as a time frame. Is that fair? Because you know he left in July and he comes back in August. How many times do you think you see him?
I saw him a few times. I saw him this past Saturday. I saw him the Wednesday before that. And he wanted to see me more. I was the one who wanted my space. I was like, nope, your kids are home. Go hang out with your kids. And even on Wednesday, I cut it short. Like, he came and hang out with me for a few hours. And then I was like, go chill with your kids.
And y'all, our girl is on a roll because we know from the geotab information that Chris Watts was at Nichol Kessinger's apartment on that Wednesday, August 8th, for 2 hours and 50 minutes. I mean, I guess, is she cutting that short? I don't know. But that is the same day when she gifted him a key to her apartment, knowing how much that would mean to him. And she didn't have to kick him out. He had to leave because he had to go and show up at his wife's ultrasound appointment that he barely made because he stayed at her apartment until the very last minute. Let's hear what Chris Watts has to say about the nature of his relationship with Nichol Kessinger.
Did you and Nikki ever fight?
We never fought, but like I said, I had to like calm her down a bunch of times. But a lot of things, like when she realized that, okay, like she's the other person in the relationship, that, you know, I always put my wife first over her, and that's what kind of made her take a step back a few times, and then like I had to kind of like calm her down.
Tell me about those times. What'd that look like?
So the first one was probably around July 4th when I had to leave her house. So because she wanted to kind of spend most of the day together before she went to like a baseball game or something. And like when I had to leave, it kind of just made her like kind of take a step back and wonder what she was doing. And I just, you know, told her like, hey, you know, just because of what's going, like, just because I had to leave doesn't mean like, you know, you have to just take a step. I was like comforting her at some point. I don't even know why I was doing it. Maybe I knew I was too far gone at that point, but it was.
This is Shanann's pissed. She's called you 10 times. You were sleeping.
Yeah.
Take your day off.
Yeah.
And then you go outside to talk to her on the phone and tell Nikki that you need to go home just in case she calls back and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what did she say to you, Nikki?
She was in the shower. She said, okay. And then that's like, when I talked about, I calm her down. She's on the phone.
And was she like, we're breaking up, like we're not gonna?
No. She said like she didn't want to, like she didn't think it was safe or it was good for us to see each other anymore that day, like the rest of that day, just because of all that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Then she asked me to come over like later on after she got back from her baseball game.
Well, this is very interesting. Chris Watts talks about 2 specific times when Nichol Kessinger comes over to his house. She also talks about those 2 specific times during her interview. So let's just take a comparison of what was said.
It's believable to me. Yes, I went to the house, and the first time I was there, I hung out in their like front living room. I just sat on the floor, and it was on the 4th of July. It was the morning of the 4th, and I was helping him to set up MyFitnessPal app and like track his food, his calories and stuff, because he does pretty good with the working out and stuff. And he asked me, he's like, can you help me just like get this dialed in? It's like, yeah, I can do that. So that he invited me up to the house. And
I think it's important to note that it's clear from these 2 stories that she wasn't invited up to the house, but she just showed up at the house after she was upset because Chris Watts left her apartment that morning because he didn't want to be there when Shanann called again.
I was already kind of hesitant to do it because I was like, there are other people that live here, and I just felt like it was an invasion of space. And so I went up there, and we just stayed in that front room, and I helped him out with that, and got him all set up with that. And then, he asked me if I wanted lunch, and he grilled chicken and carrots. And then that's all he had. And I was like, okay, so we ate, and then I left.
And so you did that?
Mm-hmm.
So what was the second one like?
It was basically about the same thing. She was, you know, I didn't really know it at one point, but I guess she had set up a couple dates with like some eHarmony app or something, and they never showed up. And she'd already made plans with me, and
Wait, what do you mean? She set up dates when she had plans with you?
yeah,
Why would she do that?
I guess she kind of figured out they weren't going to show up. She went, I guess when she went to the baseball game, they never showed up, and there was another one and never showed up either.
So she's actively dating other people while you guys are together?
So like, a couple weeks later.
How did you find out? What'd she say?
She, it was one conversation where I actually kind of fell asleep on the couch, and then like she had told me like I'm not sure why she even told me about it, but it was very random, and she could tell that it kind of like took me back a little bit because I figured she would have told me that if she was actively still like looking around. I mean, she didn't have to tell me, but I figured she.
Do you think she told you though so that it would hurry you up and
make a decision?
You're making a decision.
It might have been, but it's.
Just in regards to this bit about eHarmony, I just want to play you a little segment from Nichol Kessinger's first phone interview with Kevin Kobach, which was on the 17th of August, 2018, where she doesn't seem to know anything about eHarmony.
Couple things. So one, I went back and I tried to find whatever text you were talking about between my friend Charlotte and me with the eHarmony thing, and I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
And let's listen to an excerpt of Nichol Kessinger's interview in person from August 16th, 2018, when she's talking about that same second time that she was at the Watts residence that you just heard Chris Watts speak about.
Second time I went to that house, I'm not sure what day it was, but it was the weekend of the 14th.
Of August?
July. I don't know if it was the 14th or the 15th. One of those 2 days. But we had went out and we stopped there just real quick on the way back. And we were there not very long. But that time I saw a picture of his wife and one of his kids, and I remember thinking to myself wow, she's so beautiful. And I took a step back and I was just this man has a gorgeous house, he has beautiful babies, he has a beautiful wife, he has an awesome job. Why would he want to leave this? And I remember talking to him about it, and that was the first time that I tried to actually say, what do you think about not separating from your wife? What if you really try to work on this? And he had expressed to me that we've tried to work on this and it's not working, so that is why we're separating. And I spent some time, because it almost made me feel bad, where I was to the point where I'm engaging in a relationship with a man who, the way he described it, is in a contractual agreement, but was not in an emotional relationship with somebody. And for me, the way I would have preferred to do this is to have waited till that contractual agreement was also done, and he was done. And he could have approached me and said, I'm just had a divorce, maybe we could take this slow, what do you think? But instead it was, oh, we're separated and we're working on a divorce. And that is the part that I feel bad about, because I should have waited on that and I didn't. And, I was just well, they're already there. So, but then being in a house was just why? Fix this. Find a way to fix this. Make it work, and I was trying to push him to do it, and he seemed pretty reluctant to do it. He didn't want to. And, I don't know, we were still seeing each other fairly frequently, but I kind of backed away so we weren't hanging out quite as much, and we were still close, but it was just I really wanted him to try. I wanted to know that he tried and it didn't work, and then he moved on, not that, they both kind of tried and then he got himself into a situation with somebody else. And I don't know, I just thought he had a beautiful life going on and he could have made it work. That was the way I looked at it from the outside.
So is this something you reflected on since this event, or was this
No, I was doing it then. Like
you said this doesn't look right. He's kind of I don't want to be responsible for breaking up a marriage, especially with 2 children. Is that kind of the gist I'm getting here?
I didn't think it didn't look right. I mean, I think he was legitimately sleeping in the basement, and I didn't think that these 2 were. I mean, I think it was like, hey, we're both stuck in this house for now. We got to sell this. In the meantime, you live here, I live here. We sleep in different rooms. Take care of the kids. That's just like kind of how I took that. And no, I didn't think it didn't look right. I just thought it just seemed like he had so much going on, and it was just beautiful that I was like, why don't you just try this out, you know, and see if you can fix it. And he'd always be like, well, what about us? What about us? I'm like, don't worry about us. Like, that is more important. Like, try to see if you can, like, salvage whatever it is that you have going on with your wife. And you know, I always got the impression that he was a great father to his kids, like, always. And so, you know, I was like, and be the dad that you want to be. I was like, and see if you can make it work. And he just, like, we kind of talked about it off and on for, like, a few weeks. And I was just kind of like, I don't know. Like, I think I was kind of, like, cold feeting about it after I went over his house. And so this was, like, pretty early on. And then he told me that, he went to North Carolina. And he was like...
Chris Watts' version of the second time Nichol Kessinger was over at his house was that, you know, she saw some pictures of his family and basically she bugged out and he needed to talk her down off a ledge. That's when, as Chris recalls, because I'm sure it really hurt his feelings, she pulled out the no stops and told him that she actually had some dates with some dudes from eHarmony, but then she backed down off of it. She didn't actually end up going out with them. So I think that, you know, a logical-minded person can see that this is Nichol Kessinger's manipulation technique, or one of the many that she employs when she's interacting with Chris Watts. So as Nichol Kessinger tells it, oh, I went over there and I saw a picture of, you know, his wife and one of the girls. And I was like, she's so beautiful. You know, I really think that they need to try. You guys need to try, which is her polite way of telling the story of another manipulation technique that she pulled out of her bag of tricks, which was to, you know, gaslight and confuse and emotionally play Chris Watts' strings. No, you know, I really think you should make things work out with your wife. And you know what? If you're going to do that, then just forget about it. Then I'm out, man. But really, seriously, if you're going to be making things work out with her, then, you know, I am out of here. So, you know, we've talked about in a number of contexts how this all likely played out. And I think we have a really good idea of how Nichol Kessinger used her finely honed manipulation strategies to get Chris Watts to do exactly what it was she wanted. I'd like for us to listen together to part of Chris Watts' interview when he was interviewed from Dodge Correctional Facility in February of 2019 after he'd already been in prison for 3 months. And he's talking about confiding in his best friend, Mark Jamison, about Nichol Kessinger. And this leads to Graham Coder asking him some very direct questions about NK.
And Ashley just kind of just came out with like the whole story. Like, you know, like I just told him there was this girl at work that, you know, I've been talking to, but you know, I'm just distancing myself from her. Yeah. But that wasn't the case. I was just letting it, you know, exponentially get worse. Right. And if I had told him like, hey, you know, he would have been like, whoa, man, like, all right, take a step back and look. Right. And like, don't like fall into that trap being you're going to be alone for 5 weeks. Right. And there's times I wish, you know, like maybe Shanann didn't have to go away for 5 weeks. Maybe we all just went for 1 week. Yeah. Nothing has ever happened. Yeah. It's only, I mean, 5 weeks alone, that's the only reason really that was even almost even allowed to happen.
There are quite a few people who would tell us and who do tell us you need to look into Nikki more, Nichol Kessinger, all the way from the extreme end of things being Nikki's the one who ordered the hit.
She was there. I'm in the basement.
She was there. You know, so the extreme is she's the one who told Chris to do it. She's the real problem. All the way, that's the extreme side, and then all the way to Well, there were these texts where she was infatuated, she was in love, she was saying how good Chris was in the sack, and maybe we should look at her more. You know, what would you say to those people?
Like, no, she had her moments where I had to talk her like off a ledge kind of deal.
What does that mean?
It's like, I guess after the fact, there was like videos of her that she was like recording herself because she was like bipolar or something. I never knew that. But it's like, and she would get worked up.
And then this is actually the part of the interview where Chris Watts talks about waking up at Kessinger's apartment on July 4th and having all those calls from Shanann and telling Kessinger that he needed to peace out, needed to go home, and, you know, that some discontent ensued between Watts and Nichol Kessinger that day. After talking about that event, he then concludes,
Nothing. But I think that's when I'd called Nikki later, and she was like, you know, she kind of realized that, you know, she'd always be like, you know, the second, she said second fiddle. Sure.
And then Tammy Lee goes on to ask him about the pressure that he experienced from Nichol Kessinger about his relationship with her, and then of course his relationship with his wife and his family, to which he once again concludes,
And she said, I'd like to give you a son.
Shanann was pregnant with a boy?
No.
Did she know Shanann was pregnant?
No.
And why is that? You just didn't tell her?
I didn't know. Like, because we hadn't met.
But Shanann put that on Facebook.
That's
like, how did she not see that?
And although I wish the investigators followed up more with that question during this interview that was recorded, the investigators, like all of us, knew that Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger both knew that Shanann was in fact pregnant the whole time. And in successive parts to this Ultimatum series, I will be presenting you with more evidence of how we know that the investigators knew that Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger both knew that Nichol Kessinger knew that Shanann was pregnant during the entirety of their relationship. But for now, I want to go back to that little soundbite from Nichol Kessinger's first phone interview with Kevin Kobach, which was her third recorded interview in total, that happened on August 17th, 2018, when she's talking about eHarmony, and then she's going to talk about her friend Charlotte.
Couple things. So one, I went back and I tried to like find whatever text you were talking about between my friend Charlotte and me with the eHarmony thing, and I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
If you and I mean, her and I text so much though. So like, if you find it and you show it to me, let me know. But it's just like, I mean, I was on that site, but it was never like worth a damn for me. So it wasn't really something that I ever like discussed with her. However, when I was going back through there, I did realize that I had like offhandedly mentioned to her a little bit about Chris. I didn't tell her that I was like how deep the rabbit hole went on that, I guess you could say, but it was kind of vague, and she was asking a lot of questions at that point, but it was just like, oh, you know what? I did say something to her.
All right, now pay careful attention here, because we are about to connect some dots. And the dots that we are going to be connecting goes back to August 8th, that day that Chris Watts went over to Nichol Kessinger's apartment right after work. He went over to her house the first day he was back from North Carolina before the ultrasound appointment with Shanann, and on that date, Nichol Kessinger gave Chris Watts a key to her house. On that same day, Nichol Kessinger told Chris Watts that she had told her friends about him, which prompted him to delete his Facebook account for fear that they would look him up and find out that his wife was pregnant. So the communication that Nichol Kessinger is referring to between herself and her friend Charlotte is the one and only communication between Kessinger and Charlotte that is on record in this entire discovery. The first and only time Nichol Kessinger talked to her best friend in the world, Charlotte, about Chris Watts was on August 12th, 2018. Yes, that's right, the day before, or just hours before, the annihilation of Chris Watts' family.
You guys, I think I just looked at the messages, and there was some like little bit of conversation regarding, he's got kids. There was some conversations about some sexual related stuff, and that was about it. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's it. But I mean, I did mention it to her, and honestly, we've talked since then, and I haven't even mentioned him. And that girl's so wrapped up in everything that's going on in her life. Like, I don't even think she realizes what's going on in the news. Okay. I don't even think she's going to connect the dots. Like, I would be surprised. Like, I honestly am convinced that if I don't say a word about it, I bet you she won't even bring him up.
Okay.
And even if she did, if I was just like, yeah, he's not around anymore in my life, like, I don't even think I'm not concerned about her.
Okay. And the only concern I had there is there seemed like there was some conversation about a boyfriend, and it doesn't seem like, so you were actually talking to her about Chris, not a boyfriend.
I went back through those texts. I'm like, what is he talking about? I don't see anything about eHarmony. I mean, and if it's in there, maybe it is, and I just missed it. But It's like, no, I don't know.
It's not all that important. It's not all that important, so we can move past that.
Here's Nichol Kessinger reading to Kevin Kobach her interactions with Charlotte Nelson. Now, it seems that there was some urgency for Nichol Kessinger to get some information out to Charlotte Nelson, at least on record, because as you listen to Nichol talk about, telling her best friend about Chris Watts, you're going to find out that this is happening literally on the same day that her best friend, Charlotte Nelson's father, died. Nichol Kessinger couldn't seem to care less about the death of her best friend's father.
It's that case. Like, I wasn't even affiliated with it at all, and you need to respect that. I'm here for you regarding your dad, you know this. And then she freaking out.
You guys never had a conversation except for this past text messages about Chris and his children.
No, that was it.
There you have it right there. Kevin Kobach asks her, you never had another conversation about Chris? And Kessinger responds, no, that was it.
I mean, because he wasn't really something that I super wanted everybody to know about, and I shouldn't have even mentioned it when she brought up what she had something going on sexually with her fiance, and it happened. But at that point,
you guys are best friends. It's understandable.
Yeah, see, and she keeps trying to talk about it. She says, if you're not under investigation by the police, I don't care. Why can't you attend your so-called best friend's father's death? It doesn't make sense to me. And all I told her was stop.
If we were going to talk to her, I'd let you know beforehand. Is that fair?
Yeah, so I can give her a heads up. And she apologized. See, and she's all upset because kind of, sort of, he had Parkinson's. So it'd be really nice to kind of have kids and have my own marriage and all of that stuff. That was never anything I conveyed to him.
So you said he's handsome, huh? Did you send her a picture?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not attached here. Is that because do you think from what you deleted?
I think it's when I deleted all my photos of his stuff.
He's kind of short.
I mean, I talked to her in a way that I wouldn't talk to him with my girl, you know what I'm saying?
I get it. No, I'm just teasing you a little bit. So now you're just talking about shoes and
other stuff.
Okay.
And she brought it up again last night, but she didn't
brought up what?
Okay, but she didn't connect the dots. She was freaking out with her. She was really upset. She wanted me to come see her on Saturday because it's his week.
So unexpected.
kind of, sort of. He had Parkinson's. So kind of, but not. You know what I'm saying? It was a very drawn out thing. But she's having a really hard time with it. I knew she would. And she's like, can you make the wake on Saturday? And I was like, I'm really hesitant to leave the house. And I didn't tell her that, but I was like, I don't know. I'll try. And I'm going to go, but I'm not going to tell her until it's like right before I get to be there. And she.
So what does she reference? Just Chris the guy. I'm more interested.
No, she didn't even ask me if she was just like, she's like, I don't know what's going on. She's like, you can see it.
So you mentioned on your text before you were coming that there was other information that you thought of that was important again?
Yeah.
More info?
Yeah, let me take some sidetrack.
I'll look at this when you do that, and then
I'll show you where it is.
Yeah,
There's
show
so
me where it
much in here. Like, I will just say.
you guys talk a lot.
Oh, yeah. She is like not right here. So first she sends me this, and she's not even asking me about him. She's saying he looks like her ex. That's when she first brings him up. She doesn't even mention me at that point. I don't even think she realizes it's the same guy. Like, legitimately. I think this girl is so wrapped up in all the stuff that she's got going on right now that I don't think it's even processing. I mean, you can just tell by the way that she, like, talks. See, and she's all upset because I asked her to not talk to the media, and it happened to be the day that her dad died, and I'm sitting here trying to comfort her.
Is this your best friend?
Yes. This girl is like my whole world.
All right. But you're not talking about children or your relationship with Chris or anything like that?
No, the only time I ever mentioned him was like that one day.
Okay.
And I didn't even remember that I even had like said that to her.
What's her phone number?
720-425-7330.
So I'm not going to call her, but at some point you might want to talk to her, just so you know. I mean, sooner or later she's going to connect the dots, or you're going to tell her, right, if she's your best friend.
I'm not going to tell her. If she figures it out, she figures it out.
Okay. If we were going to talk to her, I'd let you know beforehand. Is that fair?
Yeah, just so I can give her a heads up. And she apologized to me because she was being kind of crazy. She was.
So tell me about the new info that you remember.
Okay. See right here. Hold on. She says, look, man, I know you work at Anadarko. He did too. I know he murdered his wife and kids. I know he was a dog. I know you're my best friend. I know you have a good heart. I know that that guy needs to go to jail, and he will. I know you don't want publicity, and neither would I. I know that as a witness, if you say anything, it can cause a mistrial. I know you don't want that, neither do I. Fuck the media. I want my best friend here. I never fucking said anything to her about a trial.
Okay.
So, she goes, I don't even care if you flirted with him or more. I know you had nothing to do with what happened, and I don't care if your job is having an open investigation. I'm not going to ask you a single question, but my top side, and you're my best friend.
Okay.
And I said, please stop talking about that. And she said, what do you want, house arrest? And she just keeps saying, my father died, what the fuck? She was not okay last night, and I was just trying to, like,
understandable,
mitigate this. And I was like trying to calm her down. And I said, Charlotte, I'm trying so hard to be the best friend I can to you right now. I said, I want to talk to you about that case. I didn't say the case. I said that case. Like, I wasn't even affiliated with it at all. And you need to respect that. I'm here for you regarding your dad, and you know this. And then she's freaking out. I'm freaking out.
You guys never had a conversation except for this past text messages about Chris and his children?
No, that was it.
Okay.
That was it.
That's fine.
I mean, because he wasn't really something that I, like, super wanted everybody to know about. And I shouldn't have even mentioned it when she brought up what she had, like, going on sexually with her fiance. And it happened. But at that point...
You guys are best friends. It's understandable.
Yeah. See, and she keeps trying to talk about it. She says, if you're not under investigation by the police, I don't care. Why can't you attend your so-called best friend's father's death? It doesn't make sense to me. And all I told her was stop. And she just like, yeah, and she just is like freaking out. And finally I just told her, you know, getting mad at me isn't going to bring your dad back. And that is when she chilled.
Okay.
Well, she kind of went on another rant, but it had nothing to do with Chris. And then she apologized to me this morning for being drunk and sad and angry that her dad died.
What other new information?
Okay, so I want to clarify about the dates of Nichol Kessinger and law enforcement's communication with Nichol Kessinger's best friend, Charlotte Nelson. Now, the date for the text messages between Charlotte Nelson and Nichol Kessinger, where Kessinger and her best friend Nelson are just shooting the shit about Chris Watts, the very first time and only time that Kessinger told Nelson about Chris Watts again, that all happened on August 12th, 2018, starting at 10:51 in the morning. So this is just less than a day before, just hours before the annihilation of Chris Watts' family. Now, the details of this message have to do with a lot of sexual detail and talking about, Kessinger's not so comfortable with the fact that he's already married with kids. Yeah, doesn't know if he's the one. Would like to maybe find someone she could do all of this, with for the first time. And I will leave a video in the description box again to a video that has those communications all fleshed out in detail. Now, the follow-up conversation between Kessinger and Charlotte Nelson happened on August 21st, 2018. Now, that was the very same day Charlotte Nelson's father died, and I confirmed that was the day that he left for the other side of heaven. The obituary is a matter of public record. I'm not going to show it here because I feel like that would be a privacy breach for this poor man. But her dad absolutely did pass away on August 21st, 2018. And that is the second time when Kessinger and Charlotte Nelson communicate about this Chris Watts matter. Well, it seems it must have been very urgent for Kessinger to say something to Charlotte about Chris Watts on that day, because after all, it is the day that her dad died. My God, couldn't you have reserved the conversation for another day? Well, apparently not. So it wasn't until September 5th, 2018, that Stacey Galbraith, the agent assigned to Charlotte Nelson, was asked to contact her. She did reach out to her. She didn't get a hold of her or any correspondence from Charlotte that day. And Nelson got back to her the next day on September 6th. Nelson says this: "Hi, Agent Galbraith. This is Charlotte Nelson. I'm looking through my phone and the latest text messages I have from Nikki started on August 21st, and we mostly talked about my dad passing away and my family issues, and also that she is concerned with the media." So she's referring to that second conversation that Kessinger and Charlotte had, not about the sex and kids talk that they had on August 12th, the day before, hours before the family was annihilated. That, by the way, was the first time Nichol Kessinger, according to text messages, ever mentioned Chris Watts or the idea of him to her best friend. Charlotte Nelson goes on to say, "I probably deleted the whole conversation when Nikki asked me to delete pictures we have together on Facebook because the media was calling her friends to get information. I know about the text messages we talked about because yesterday evening I got your voicemail, and when Nikki came over later that night after Charlotte was contacted by Stacey Galbraith, I told her you had called me and wanted to verify it was actually the CBI calling me and not some scammer trying to get information. I asked her why you'd be calling me, and she said it could be because of the text we exchanged, and then she showed me." So Nikki showed Charlotte. "I'm sorry, I don't have any messages before that. Would you like me to still send you everything starting on August 21st? Also, I left you a voicemail regarding a question I have. My question is, the text messages you have, are they going to be made public matter? I shared very personal information about mine and my boyfriend's intimate life, and I'm concerned about what will be released. Please let me know or call me for more questions." I mean, these girls have their priorities straight all over the place, don't they? Stacey Galbraith says, I responded. Stand by on the text from the 21st. Let me consult my partner. Thank you for getting back to me on this matter. So then Stacey Galbraith says, on the next day, September 7th, 2018, I attempted to clarify this with Nelson. I asked her, why would you be calling me? And she said it was because of the text we exchanged and then she showed me. So Stacey Galbraith is like, wait, what's up with this? You saying to me, I asked her why you'd be calling me, and she said it was because of the text we exchanged and then she showed me. So she's saying Kessinger obviously has these messages. I texted Nelson and called her. The phone went straight to voicemail like it was off. On the 7th, Nelson responded. She showed me the old text messages on her phone the night before last, which was the 5th of 2018. That's the same day that Stacey Galbraith initially contacted Charlotte Nelson when she was here at my house. So she here is Nichol Kessinger. So Charlotte Nelson is saying she, Kessinger, showed me the old text message on her, Kessinger's phone, the night before last, on September 5th, when she was here at my house. So Nichol Kessinger shows up at Charlotte's house, of course, the night that law enforcement contacts Charlotte Nelson. We had went to Verizon earlier on that same day so she could get a new phone since the one she had wasn't working well. It must be that the messages were backed up and transferred over to the new phone. So, look, again, magically, guys, are you getting this? The day that law enforcement first contacts Charlotte Nelson is the same day when earlier that day, Kessinger and Nelson get together to get Kessinger a new phone, and then Kessinger's over at her house again later on that afternoon. Now remember, Kessinger said that she and Charlotte Nelson didn't actually see one another that much. So Stacey Galbraith didn't find out too much from Charlotte Nelson. Their communication spanned from September 5th to September 7th. And I would like to note that the letter, the 7 to 8 page letter that Nichol Kessinger submitted to law enforcement that I refer to as the Cover My Ass letter, again, I'll leave a video in the description box that completely covers the Cover My Ass letter for you. We recently discussed it in a live stream here on this channel. That letter was dated the following day after this correspondence with the agent and Charlotte Nelson, which is September 8th, 2018. It seems that's when Nichol Kessinger realized that she really may have a lot of ass to cover. So although at the time Nichol Kessinger told Chris Watts that she had told all of her friends about Chris Watts, she hadn't actually told Charlotte Nelson about him at that time, it seems. But once things were moving, once the plan was clearly put into action and there was just hours down to go, it seems at that point Nichol Kessinger felt comfortable enough to finally tell her best friend about him, if you know what I mean. And don't worry, more detail on that. Now, what about Nichol Kessinger's other friends that she had told about Chris Watts? This anecdote that prompted Chris Watts to delete his Facebook account. Well, we know that the weekend of the murders, Nichol Kessinger had a guest that we don't know too much about in for that weekend from out of town, and that was her guest, Danielle Hadel. So here, Kevin Kobach is summarizing how he feels about Chris Watts' relationship, his relationship with Kessinger, according to what she has told him thus far in the interview.
Multiple times a day, at least, you're seeing each other on a regular basis. Yep. So it's a very, and his wife is not around, nor are his children. So there's a lot of time for you guys to build your relationship in this first four weeks or so. Is that fair?
Yeah, and even when she was back, I mean, it was still like we were still spending time together. He was still spending time with his children, and I had my own life. Like, I mean, there was one week where I just like went out of town with my friends for my birthday. I wasn't even around the whole like last few days of June up until the 3rd of July. I was like gone, you know. And then there was another, like last weekend, I had a friend impromptu come in town from out of state, and I hosted her for a few days. And it's like it.
Do you know what you did Sunday during the day?
I don't even know what I did on Sunday during the day. I am so tired. Let me just think about this. Daniel came over Friday. I hung out with him Saturday. And then Sunday.
When did Jim come in?
Monday.
Huh.
Jim got here Monday. What did I do on Sunday? I am like drawing a blank. I'm really tired. I don't know. Can I get back to you on that?
Well, it seems that Chris Watts could have been being truthful and accurate in saying that he deleted his Facebook account because Nichol Kessinger told him on August 8th that she had told her friends about him, read, "You better get your butt in gear, hide up the fact that you have a pregnant wife and you better do it quick." And boom, his Facebook account was gone. We still have some questions like, what did Jim know about Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger's relationship with Chris Watts? And what else happened through the week of August 7th until the day of the family annihilation that tied together the pieces even closer, revealing to all of the world and to investigators, of course, and to us now, the integral part that Chris Watts' mistress, Nichol Kessinger, played in the plans and the actions that resulted in the loss of 4 beautiful lives of Shanann Watts, Bella Watts, Celeste Watts, and unborn baby Nico Watts. We have 2 more parts in this Ultimatum series to explore those questions, and there were many answers on the way.